Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Gabby.
I'm Justin.
If you didn't know, now you know. And we are finally doing the full Q&A, going over our itinerary, answering all your questions about our European summer excursion.
Yeah, I've actually been waiting for this video for a long time, so.
Yeah, I'm excited. I feel like we get to relive it over again.
It's my favorite part.
But I asked on my Instagram for all your questions because I really wanted to do a full, I feel like no one talks about the nitty gritty details. And I feel like I had to do so much research and find every different avenue of who was saying what just to get all the information. So I want everything to kind of be in one place. Obviously, I am not an expert at all. We did not use any sort of travel agent or any help, honestly. We planned pretty much between us and my family that was also there. We planned everything ourselves. So it's honestly not that hard to do, so I kind of want to break everything down with you. We're going to talk about prices, even though I'm a little scared to talk about that. But yeah, just kind of giving you all the information so everything's in one place. So if you want to do a European summer, which it is so
worth it.
Honestly, yeah, worth every penny. And there's definitely a way to do it more budget friendly than we did. I definitely recommend it for anyone that's even potentially thinking about it. Just pull the trigger, book the flights, and do it. First question, can you post your itinerary that we used? I want to start with this one just to give more of a background of where we actually went and how long we spent in each place, and also talk about if we would recommend spending the time that we did or if we needed more, needed less, everything like that. So in total, we spent 24 days abroad.
Yeah,
including travel days.
I was about to say, so 2 days of actually traveling, getting to and from Europe, and then 22 days in Europe.
Yeah. So we started in Paris. We kind of worked west to east, which honestly made sense because I feel travel wise we kind of went in a row. We never had to work backwards, and we were kind of open for our itinerary. However, we went with what was the cheapest route and what made the most sense. So flying Miami to Paris was one, the cheapest flights that we could find, and two, it just made the most sense starting.
And it was a red eye
there. Yeah.
And we also strategically planned Paris prior to the Olympics.
That was the other thing.
We wanted to avoid as much as congestion as we possibly could, even though we knew it was going to be pretty packed. But thankfully, it kind of worked in our favor because the 2 days I guess we were there, we were able to do everything that we wanted and made everything happen. So, yeah.
Another thing to mention, we did go in July, which everyone says. I feel we were right before peak season, but I still think it was part of peak season.
For sure.
However, I will say there was not one part of our trip where I was I'm miserable, there's too many people here. It wasn't crowded, yeah, but it was never too packed anywhere we went.
Right, we even got such great pictures at the Eiffel Tower. And, that was, one of our biggest things. It's people are going to be there.
That was so easy. I thought it was going to be so hard. Just going to put a disclaimer, we're probably going to go on a million tangents because I still haven't given you our itinerary, but we love this trip so much that we're going to get so excited and just talk about random things. But before we get into all of that, everywhere we went. So, we flew out on July 6th. We had a red eye. We landed in Paris on July 7th. We landed about 2 p.m. Paris time, which honestly, the red eye flight was perfect. I feel we did not have jet lag at all. We just stayed awake that whole day, went to bed.
We slept for the whole flight.
Well, yeah.
We thankfully had no one else in our row, and we passed out for 7 of the 8 hours. We woke up, and I look at Gabby, and the pilot makes an announcement. All right, guys, we're doing our initial descent to Paris, and we have about 45 minutes left. I looked at her there is no way we just slept for a good 7 hours, but it was perfect. That red eye was...
Yeah, I mean, we also got really lucky with the whole row to ourselves.
And we had the whole row, for sure. But.
We did fly French B, which I did research, and a lot of people were saying it's kind of the spirit or the frontier of an international flight. It was more of a budget airline. We loved it, honestly. We had nothing bad to say about it at all. I feel we're also very low maintenance flyers. We can sleep anywhere. It really doesn't matter. So I'd maybe take that with a grain of salt. If you're the type of person that can't sleep or you need to be comfy, you need a lot of leg room, maybe it's not for you. But if you're trying to do this on a budget, go French B, and we had a great experience. So we landed in Paris at 2 p.m. We had that night, and then we had one full day in Paris, and then the next morning. Honestly, I think we flew out at 4 or 5 p.m.
Yeah,
so we had a good chunk of the next day. Mm-hmm. Personally, that was the only time we needed.
That's all we needed.
Technically, probably 2 full days combined with...
Roughly. I'd probably say right under 2 full days, but yeah.
We were very go the whole time we were there because we had a short amount of time, but I feel we did everything we wanted to.
We also didn't do a lot of the things that most people would like to do, right? So for us, we wanted to see the Eiffel Tower. We wanted to see a couple of the other landmarks. We had
did not. We
no
wanted to
interest
see
in
the
going
Louvre.
to the Louvre.
We did not go into
Yeah,
it.
I did not want to waste a day or multiple
I just
hours.
feel like it's so much time.
You know,
and
I heard
that's one
was
thing that's so
packed.
crowded. Yeah, you can't even really appreciate everything.
Yeah, so like that was like we were in the vicinity of it, and like we took pictures outside of it, but there was no need to go in.
That is one thing. We're not very big history people. Yeah. So when it came to all these places, it was more so like seeing the landmarks, and we didn't do too many tours or museums or any of that. So if that's something that you want to add like into your itinerary, we don't have too much information on that because we really didn't do that anywhere.
Yeah.
But for what we needed, 2 days in Paris was honestly perfect. Wasn't too crowded. We got to experience seeing all the landmarks, going shopping. We walked like everywhere in the city. Obviously, pretty much everywhere in Europe is so walkable. I love that. Mm-hmm. We walked a lot, had some great food.
I was gonna make sure that if you guys go to Paris, you have to go to Pink Mama. I'm telling you right now, this restaurant, it was a last minute decision on our end.
Well, it was somewhere I saw people talk about a lot, but it was very 50-50 of like, oh, it's really good, or like, oh, it's overrated, like it's overhyped, don't go. So I had it written down, but I actually didn't plan it out at all. Like I was like, no, I don't think we're gonna do it. Like if we come across it, we'll do it. We did.
I'm telling you guys, like that was some of the best truffle pasta I've ever had, and like the pizza was phenomenal too. And like that was like the start of like the European experience when it comes to food for me. And I was just so thankful that we were able to actually get a lunch reservation there, very last minute too.
And then from Paris, we worked our way down to Majorca, Spain, which I think this might be both of our favorite parts of the trip.
I have like a 1A and a 1B because it's so hard for me to say like which one I like better because it offers such different things. But
we'll rank them after.
Definitely on top of that list.
We'll rank them after we give you.
Of course, but still, you know.
We had our travel day into Majorca, which went smoothly. So again, flying anywhere in between Europe, so easy. Such a short flight, very easy to navigate. Flew into Majorca. We didn't get in until pretty late that night, so we just like kind of got to the airport, picked up our rental car, went to our Airbnb, and then we had 3 full days in Majorca. And we did a lot. We absolutely loved the way we did it. I could have spent way longer there. That's one place I feel like we definitely could have extended.
For sure. And it's funny because originally we were going to spend an extra day in Paris and then decided to take that extra day instead of spending it in Paris to go to Majorca.
Which I feel like was a great decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we got into Majorca. We stayed the first night kind of near the airport. We did not stay in Palma at all. And I am very glad we didn't.
Yeah, we stayed close by. It was...
We drove through it a few times and we were like, I just don't think...
It was not what I expected.
No.
That specific city. You know, could we have found maybe like nicer parts?
I'm sure, yeah.
Didn't drive
there's
through
hidden
everything
gems in
for
it.
sure.
But the areas that we stayed in, I definitely recommend. So the first day we stayed around there, and then we stayed on that side of the island because we wanted to spend our first day at Grand Follies Beach Club, which was like the super west part of the island, right?
If you're looking at the island, yes, and like you're looking at the airport and Palma, it's to the west side of that area. So that's where we spent the first day,
which was amazing. I definitely recommend. Obviously, a little bit of a splurge. It is a beach club. It's a nicer beach club. It is.
But surprisingly,
it was amazing.
It wasn't that expensive to book the chairs and the towels aspect of the beach club.
Well, no. So our entry into the beach club was $100, right?
$100.
Well, €100.
€100, and it literally
for
got
both
you
of us,
seats,
combined.
Your towels, and like a nice umbrella, but like not an umbrella.
But
like
then you had access to their pool. You had access to the secret, like private beach area. And then everything else, like you had a waiter service, but then you had to pay for everything else. So there was no like meals or drinks included.
10 out of 10, like recommend, like you guys, if you go to Majorca, you have to experience this beach club because it was
breathtaking. Especially because we started off our trip like that. It was.
And I was like, wow, like, I can't imagine, what's next.
We didn't spend all day at the beach club, and we definitely could have. Like we were definitely sad to leave, but because that was the only day we were spending on that side of the island, we had lunch reservations at Restaurante ETA, which was. 1, phenomenal food, and 2, so cool. It's literally a restaurant on an island on a beach. So it's like a public beach, which I didn't expect that. I feel like you never really see that on, like, anytime I, like, looked it up on TikTok or whatever. It's literally a public beach, and then there's just a boardwalk. Like a pretty
giant
long
walkway, yeah.
Walkway,
just
boardwalk.
Up to the restaurant.
In the water, just up to, like, a restaurant on the rock. It was such a cool experience. Definitely recommend that, too.
Food was great.
Mm-hmm.
View was amazing. Like, we're literally sitting on, like, at a table that's right next to like the railing aspect of the restaurant, and we're just like, I'm looking at Gabi, and I'm literally just like this, and it's just water and landscape, and I was just like, wow, like This is sick.
So that was the only day that we spent on that side of the island. We did have plans that night that didn't go according to plan, but there is a question of things that like were not worth it. So I'm just going to save that for that part because we'll get into that later. But that is why I recommend having a rental car because the island is pretty big. Like, and that's one thing. I don't know the Uber taxi situation on that island at all. That's another question I have later, but we did not use that. So I'm not sure what it would be like if you didn't have a rental car. Recommend getting a rental car. Recommend getting a smaller rental car because then the next 2 days we stayed in what I would assume is the most perfect area to stay in Majorca. It was the Calador area, and we stayed in an Airbnb that was part of a hotel called Park Mar, and the hotel area was gorgeous. The amenities were amazing. Mm-hmm. Definitely recommend looking into that hotel or that Airbnb if you want. And then the area we were in had such a cute town center with stores, restaurants. It was so walkable. It was so lively. There was karaoke at night. It was touristy without feeling like I still felt like we were in Spain and in Majorca and like had that feeling. Like it was safe. It was, I don't know, just truly recommend staying in the Calador area. I feel like it had everything we wanted.
They had vendors and markets and people that just came like specific nights and lined up in the streets, and you could go shopping and get, souvenirs and shirts and, the whole 9 yards. So like that area was just like, we didn't even know that was going to be the case. We just liked that area for the hotel. Mm-hmm. And then we knew that it was near the beaches that we were going to want to go to. It really just worked in our favor that was all in walking distance, and that's where we were every single night, every single day.
And it was open so late because the first time we got into that side of the island, it was almost like 11 p.m. and you were like, I'm starving. Hungry, and everyone was out. All the restaurants were open. It was so easy to get food that late. So that was great. Definitely recommend that area. Mm-hmm. The next 2 days we stayed at obviously that area, the beach is nearby. We went to Cala Lombards, which amazing beach. We ended up going back to that beach both days, which in the moment we were very excited about because we truly felt like it was the best beach. But now that we're back home, we're like,
we should have went to one other specific beach, but by the look of it on the map, it didn't look like there was too much beach area to like actually hang out, relax, and like be able to lay down comfortably versus the beach that we went to both days where it had a little restaurant, little shack area where you could get drinks and food, and then they had like the chairs as well. They had a lot more beach space, so everyone was laying out on their towels, and that's what we did for the most part, except for when Gabi took a nap on the chairs.
I took like 4 naps.
But it was great because you could go walk around the rocks. You could go up to like where the cliffs are. You can explore that area. You can go cliff jumping on both sides. There's the ladders that get you back up to the top of the rock where that is. And it was just like so cool because like that's just not a normal thing here.
We also had to get to the beaches like super early in the morning because we were so worried about parking, which that is something to take into consideration with a rental car. Yeah. Parking is very limited at all the beaches. Mm-hmm. We saw people walking for like probably close to like a mile to get down to the beach, like where they would have to park if you didn't come early on. So keep that in mind because honestly it's worth it to get to the beach early. So those were our 2 days in Majorca, and then we had like the next morning to relax. And then from Majorca we started our Italy journey, which that's where we spent the rest of the trip, just bouncing all around Italy. So we flew into Naples airport. We had a layover in Barcelona. We didn't have a direct flight, but super easy travel day again. Flew into Naples, and then we actually did a private driver through our Airbnb we were staying in Sorrento. Private driver through our Airbnb, which ended up being, I think, the best thing we could have done. Is a little bit pricier. So again, that's somewhere that you could definitely save if you don't want to do that. They have trains. I'm pretty sure they have like buses. There's definitely like public transportation, but we had honestly a lot of luggage. 1, 2, the Naples airport is kind of like the hub for everything Amalfi Coast. So it is, from what I've seen, like is so crowded and hectic. Mm-hmm. And we just we didn't have any experience with the public transportation yet. We didn't want that to be our first time without like knowing how to navigate it.
And it was late.
It was also very late. So we had a private driver, picked us up right from the airport, like in their name on a sign and everything. I felt pretty cool. Helped us with our luggage, drove us like right to the Airbnb because he worked through the house, so he knew exactly where to go, knew the owners, and that was just made everything super easy. So we had a day and a half in Sorrento. Originally, we were going to do all 4 days in Positano, but Positano is pricey. It is definitely, I would say, the most expensive place we went on the entire trip. So we broke it up to that's somewhere that we were like, let's just save a little bit of money, and we got to explore more places. So glad we did, because absolutely love Sorrento.
Yeah, Sorrento was great.
So we did about a day and a half, 2 nights technically in Sorrento, and then 2 nights in Positano. Sorrento, we stayed like 5 minutes from the city center. Again, everything is walkable. Everything that you need is right there in the city center. That was a place that we just kind of spent
walking around,
restaurants, shopping, exploring.
So much walking, but so much to see. Mm-hmm. You know, so many shops, so many like leather goods. That's where I got like a nice crossbody, and that's like one thing that I really wanted. And Sorrento was definitely the cheaper option when it came to shopping as well as stay. You know, so like you find everything pretty much the same everywhere, just different names for the city that you're in,
and then different prices. So from Sorrento, we ended up. Okay, I will say this was the only time that we had kind of the like issue when it came to luggage in Europe, because we went from Sorrento to Positano and we ended up just using the same private driver because it was so easy before. And again, we could have done a bus. A bus is very cheap. However, with the amount of luggage we had, it would have been a nightmare. I don't even know if we would have been able to take it on the bus. So we just booked a private driver again, but we had to check out of our Sorrento Airbnb at either like 10 or 11, and we couldn't check into Positano until 3. So that was the first time that we really had like just our luggage with us, and we just had to kind of like trek through the streets of Europe and the cobblestone, and it was a little bit of an issue. Yeah. But not worth like not bringing that much luggage, honestly. Like so many people were like, you're gonna regret it, don't bring that much. We definitely didn't regret it, and there weren't too many times where we really had to worry about it.
I needed that many clothes.
Yeah.
We were there for 3 weeks. A little over 3 weeks.
For sure. But from there, went to Positano. Positano, gorgeous. We had pretty much like again like a day and a half completely there. Probably like 2 days. We had a little bit more time.
I think we did 2.5 days there because like
you're right.
The half day went into our travel.
Yeah.
Positano,
gorgeous.
And like I don't even know how to like really describe the feeling I felt of just like seeing it for the first time and you know just being there, because one, like the beach club was sick. You know, like the view of the buildings, just, you know, going up this mountain and like knowing that that's the place that like you see on social media, you see, you know, you hear about in movies and TV shows or wherever, and then it's just like to actually be there is like just a whole different story. And it was so cool the one night that we were at Music on the Rocks on the balcony, and we're literally enjoying the drink, a limoncello spritz. And I'm just like staring at this place, and it is so beautiful, and it's just like, wow, like, you know, we're here, like, this is so cool.
So glad we actually stayed there and didn't just day trip over, because we really loved it. However, we did stay on the hill, like behind the main hill, up.
Like at the top.
That is something that, it was gorgeous views. The Airbnb was gorgeous. I loved it. However, those stairs, like
a nightmare, truly.
Like actually,
even without luggage,
we're in shape, athletic, in our like young mid-20s, and it was. I was like almost in tears, honestly, like going up the stairs. I really was.
First night, because she wasn't mentally prepared, and then we had to do it after the club, and it just it wasn't.
It was rough. But so that's something that I think we do different next time. Is we're gonna stay more like sea level as much as we can.
Absolutely.
But
it's like, you have to. Like, unless you, like, know that you're going to either pay for a taxi
or the
to get
buses,
up and down.
I think were
the
also
buses, for sure. Like,
doable. We just did not figure that bus system out.
Yeah. But Positano, I probably could have stayed there for, like, maybe another day. Mm-hmm. But the amount of time that we did stay there was perfect, because we got to experience everything. We did a day at the beach club. We
did
the restaurants on the water.
We
went to Music on the Rocks.
Like, it is very... Just the city center is a city center, and that's kind of it. There's more like restaurants on the way, like on the hill and stuff, but the actual like shopping, walking, beach is all in one area. So you can obviously like relax and do more. You could do a boat day. You can do like, there's things to fill up your time, but you don't like need days to be able to see everything, I feel like. I definitely recommend
guys Positano
splurging and staying some days in Positano, because it was absolutely amazing.
You have to. Like, it's a must. Like I said, the 1A and 1B on my list, I know we're doing that later, but was Majorca and Positano.
Then from Positano, we went to Capri. This was another day that luggage would have been an issue because of the stairs. There's another question I'm going to get more into, like our luggage and everything. But this was somewhere that, again, we splurged, because we probably would have ended the relationship and ended our own lives if we had to carry our suitcases down by ourselves to the bottom of the hill. Would not have worked for anyone. So we ended up just hiring a luggage service. They came right to the door of the Airbnb, and they took our suitcases all the way down the hill.
And they stored them
until we got on our ferry to then go to Capri.
that was one of the hottest mornings.
It was brutal. And we had like
to the
nowhere
point where
to
like our
go,
luggage
so we
was
were
like
just
on fire.
I
And
think
was
that's the
just
day
like,
that my film camera got destroyed, which is really sad. This is another thing that a lot of people do day trips to Capri. I recommend staying on the island, specifically in Anacapri. We loved that area, and I keep seeing things of like, oh, Capri's like, it's so crowded, it's so touristy, like you can skip that on your itinerary. You can't. You probably think that if you take a day trip because you only have so many hours because you have to take the ferry in and out when like times are available. And if you only stay specifically in the little town area of Capri, like near the port, it is crowded. It's brutal. You're out in the sun. I'm sure that's not fun. Don't do that. I am so glad. I think we spent like 3 nights in Capri.
Yeah.
And luckily we did, because this was the part of the trip where I think I started to get a little sick. Like I was getting worn down. But because we had so many days, we could use some time to just like relax and have early nights. We didn't feel so like rush and go. But we stayed in Anacapri, again, the city center. Like, we booked things kind of, I feel like we got really lucky.
Yeah.
We didn't really do too much research on area, like, to the point where we were just, I mean, I read the reviews and it said things were close, and I was like, perfect, this Airbnb looks great. Like, we're going to stay here, we'll figure it out later. Ended up being, like, literally within the city center of everything you need, like restaurants, shops, markets. Everything was right there.
Yeah.
That area was so calm because I feel like none of the day trippers come at all.
Yeah.
So it's only the people staying on the island, which is not many people. It was gorgeous. This is where we did our first boat day, which was beautiful. The water in Capri, I could swim in it for the rest of my life. We did do a private boat tour, but that's another place that you can definitely save on money if you're like on a budget. I feel like they have so many boat tours that you can do like with. You can either do like a small group, a big group. Regardless, I do feel like a boat day is necessary because there's so much to see. There's so many caves. We didn't get to do the Blue Grotto because it was closed that day. Well, technically it wasn't.
At first.
There was an hour wait,
yeah.
and then it ended up closing because of the weather. So even if we I'm glad we chose not to stay because I feel like it probably would have been closed by the time.
For sure, by the time we like actually
got to the
out,
front. Yeah. So every other place since Majorca, we did not have any type of rental car. We just walked everywhere. On Capri, it's definitely a bigger island. There's more to explore. We booked a scooter for one day, and one, so much fun. 2, it's the best way to get around the island or any of those places.
Like in Europe, like that's their main like way of transportation.
And I understand why.
Vespa.
Also, it's safe. I was worried that it wasn't going to feel safe. It felt very safe. He was a great driver. I just rode passenger princess, obviously.
Although you guys have to be careful if you do rent a Vespa and you go to Anacapri or pretty much anywhere, just make sure the route that you're taking to wherever it is you're going is a route that's a road. Because
well, okay, so there's mainly one road that takes you everywhere. However, it is very windy. It's uphill. So he was like, let's try to avoid that.
No, that was the first one. That's the first road to get up to Anacapri. I'm talking about when we were going, that was to the Dior Cafe.
Yeah.
And there was 2 different routes that we could have taken. And of course, like I was like, wow, this looks a little bit more simple and not so much out the way.
And because it's literally like this, the main road. So he was like, let's try to avoid that. Let's go the one that looks like straighter.
Guys, we came across stairs.
They weren't roads.
Guys, I literally had to pull a Vespa downstairs. Like, and then like had to turn around and it was a dead end and so just ran into so many complications.
Don't go alternate routes. Go where your phone tells you.
Yeah, because and it was hot and it was heavy and we're trying to a tire.
As long as you don't do that,
Cafe.
It was so easy to know.
It was so fun though.
It was so fun.
It was so easy to drive to. Like even if they say like, have you ever driven one before? You could literally just be like, yeah, and still figure it out.
So after our 3 days in Capri, that was the end of like just us traveling. So everything up to this point, I pretty much planned. Well, like we planned everything out, but I did a lot of like the itinerary and I mean, because you just don't really care. You were just along for the ride. Like, you didn't really care, and I'm definitely more of, like, the planner type A person. So, up to that point, that was, like, our itinerary. Then we met my family for the rest of it. So, we ended up taking a ferry from Capri to Naples. Mm-hmm. Again, so easy to navigate. That's another question about public transportation, so I'll go into the details of that.
And that was, like, a
later,
nice ferry, too. Like, comfortable seats.
That was, like, a mini cruise ship, honestly.
Yeah.
And then we went from Naples, we took a train from Naples right to Rome. Again, so easy to navigate. Absolutely loved
and it was
getting
cheap.
To and from. So easy.
Like,
yeah, so cheap.
Getting to and from places in Europe, whether it's flights, trains, ferries, rentals, it was so cheap.
So once we trained into Rome, we met my mom and Paul right there. This was probably the one part of the trip that it's like a must do because you have to see everything. However, this is definitely where it's the most touristy. You're going to run into the most crowds. It was also very hot that day. We had probably like a day and a half total in Rome, and that was plenty of time, if not even too much time.
Yeah.
I've been to Rome already, so even for him, like seeing all the places for the first time, again, we didn't do any
tours.
Any tours. We didn't go into the Colosseum.
But we walked around it.
Yeah, we saw the Colosseum. We saw everything that there is to see in Rome. You can walk through it very fast. We did it in like a few hours. We got up early to see the Trevi Fountain before the crowd, which even if you don't, it's really easy to just like wait your turn and get to the front for a picture. Like it's really not the end of the world at all.
And you can also take electric lime scooters.
Yeah, they do have those, which would have been another easy way. That's what my dad did actually, to go all the way around Rome, and
which makes sense.
That's another easy way to do it.
It's so fun.
But that is somewhere that I don't think you need more than like a day or two.
At all.
Just because it is crowded everywhere. There's things to see, but you can do it all in a day. Just wake up early and go and get it done. And I feel like you'll thank yourself. Because we ended up cutting our day short. We actually booked a hotel just to use the pool because it was so hot. And we just felt like we just kind of like saw everything already, and we wanted to get out of the crowd.
And our Airbnb did not have air conditioning, and it was miserable.
Yeah.
And then, the accommodation wasn't as great as we thought it was going to be. And then we did want to, utilize the pool on the last day, and then ended up getting a hotel and staying there, which made a lot more sense anyway, because air conditioning, pool, more comfortable.
Honestly, it was a great decision. And then from Rome, we actually road tripped. And by we, thank God we had this one, because he drove and he was not supposed to drive. Because originally, it was the four of us and a lot of luggage. So my mom rented a car, and it was going to have to be manual because that was the only car they had that was big enough for everything, and she was the only driver that could drive manual. So originally it was going to be my mom having to drive. We picked up the rental car, and it was automatic. And it was obviously like very easy to drive. He just drove in Majorca, so street signs and everything he was already familiar with. The reason that we road tripped, so we were going from Rome to Venice, which all in all was about like, if you just drove straight, it was like 5-6 hours. It was pretty long. But the reason we wanted to drive is because we wanted to stop in Saturnia at the Saturnia Hot Springs, and I am so glad we did. These were breathtaking. This was the coolest thing to see ever. The fact that it's just a natural hot spring. It is like the perfect like crystal turquoise water. It was, like 90 degrees, I think it said. It was literally just a natural hot tub, but it's like different levels of waterfalls and rocks.
And like pools. And
it was so cool to see.
I was like taken back by how cool it was. Because like it looked a certain way in pictures. And sometimes like pictures can make it seem like it's a little bit nicer. Or videos can make it seem like it's nicer. But
it was free.
When I got there, I was like, yeah, you just have to pay for parking.
But other than that, it was free.
Yeah.
So definitely recommend adding a stop here.
Water shoes.
That's your must bring.
Necessity. Guys, like necessity. Everywhere we went, beaches, Italy, Majorca, the natural hot springs, water shoes. Water shoes.
That is,
cheap
I
ones
would
on
say
Amazon.
that
like,
is
you guys have to.
Top of the list of like must pack for a European summer.
Just wanted to put that out there before we forgot to say it.
Yeah. Then we made it into Venice. This is where we kind of met pretty much the rest of the family. So there was a lot of us, and I did not do any planning from pretty much here on out. My sister kind of did all of it. So she booked the Airbnbs. She booked any like reservations pretty much from here on out. But we had 2 nights in Venice, which I feel like, again, probably the perfect amount of time. You could stay longer. There's more to explore. Obviously, the island is built on water. There's so much to do. We did a gondola ride. We kind of walked the bridge and walked the entire city pretty much. Saw everything. Ate some good food. That's a place where if you wanted to, you could do more. However, I feel like 2 days was enough to kind of see everything.
Yeah. I thought it was a really cool experience. Just like when you get to where were we? The airport, right? Like when we first got there?
Yeah.
And then like you have water, like taxis and
yeah, you can't
boats.
drive.
Like, and like that's just so like different because like you wave down like a taxi or an Uber normally, but it's, so like literally a boat took us to it, and when we got there, everything's just on water. Mm-hmm. I didn't really I knew that, but I didn't know to the extent of which it actually was.
Then from Venice, we finally made it to Lake Como, which we trained from Venice to Varenna, I believe, and then took a ferry from Varenna into Bellagio, Lake Como. Again, super easy to navigate. Lake Como was so the whole reason we did this summer specifically, was my sister was getting married in Lake Como. So there's, again, we met the whole family. From that point on, Like I said, definitely in Lake Como, everything was booked out for us. We stayed in Bellagio. Lake Como is gorgeous. Definitely one of my favorite places that we've ever been.
Yeah.
Beautiful beaches, city centers, kind of like a mix of everything that you could need. So, love that.
We had breathtaking views from the hotel.
Yeah.
Our balcony just like overlooked, the water.
And that was our last Italy stop. So we pretty much went, like, we worked south again up to like the middle, up to the north part. And then from Italy, the last stop that we did was Switzerland. So we ended up taking like a private car, which was so easy. And my mom booked it, but best thing we probably could have done, it was us two, my mom, her boyfriend, my dad, his girlfriend, all in one car, which you might think is weird, but my family is, but that's very normal for my family. So
I'm still trying to comprehend everybody, so if you're confused, trust me, I still am too.
So we were all in one car. It was a pretty long road trip. Well, it ended up taking way longer because I guess there's like really one way in, one way out for this bridge, and there was like street lights, so there was lots of traffic. It ended up being, I want to say we sat in an extra like hour, possibly 2 of traffic, but luckily none of us were driving. We had a driver drive us, so
yeah,
that was, we kind of like already marked away the whole day as a travel day. We went to Lucerne, Switzerland. We got really lucky when we got into Lucerne. It was the last day of like a festival they had, and there was like street vendors and food and music and great for the
vibes.
Day that we had. Yeah,
great vibes.
Lucerne, we had again just 2 nights in Lucerne. The next day we did everything in Mount Pilatus, which was such a cool experience. However, it was just like bad weather that day. It was so
Very
foggy,
cloudy, yeah.
so cloudy, which was kind of cool because it literally felt like we were in the clouds. Like it felt like we were so high up because obviously you're on the top of the mountain. But I feel like on a good weather day, you can overlook the entire city and it's probably beautiful. We just didn't get to see that, but I'm still so glad we experienced that, and that day was so cool doing everything that we did. So we had the 2 nights in Lucerne, and then we ended up going to just the last night in Zurich because we had a really early flight the next day. We just kind of walked around the city again. Gorgeous weather, gorgeous walkable city.
I love Zurich.
And then we took the Lime scooters and just drove around everywhere, which was really fun.
Finally got to do that. Like I've been begging everybody to do it the whole time, and they just didn't want to, get hit with the crazy drivers and which
fair,
is understandable.
Some of them are crazy.
But then we finally did it. Everybody was so happy that we did it. And I was like, oh, try telling everybody sooner, but at least we got to do it.
Then we flew out the next day,
and our trip.
That is our itinerary. 40 minutes later. I'll probably cut some of this out in between, but currently right now we've literally been filming for like 40 minutes.
Yeah, but we did so much.
We did. There was a lot to talk about.
Yeah, like
everywhere we went, we recommend every place. There's not one place where I'm like, you don't need to add that. Especially Paris was one place that I feel like everyone kept telling us like, oh, it's overhyped, like you just don't even have to go. We loved it. Glad I did it. Seeing the Eiffel Tower sparkle for the first time at night was like one of the most amazing things I've ever witnessed in my life. So if I were ranking everything, my rankings of favorite to least favorite, again, recommend everything. So even like my least favorite was still amazing. But I think Majorca was number 1. That is a place that we definitely want to go back to. I think that's a great family vacation. It was very family friendly. So whether we go back with our families or like one day even with kids, I feel like a great vacation spot.
I'd agree. I put Majorca at 1, 2.
And then I would go Capri next. I know you wouldn't.
I would go Positano.
Yeah. I think after Capri, I would go Positano.
And then I'd probably put Capri.
I don't know, something about just being like on the island of Capri I loved. Like I was the happiest I think I ever was. Like
although you were sick, but like I love that.
But still, like that first day, I don't know, I was so just like, wow, I love being here. So after Positano, I would probably go Lake Como.
You know what? That's tough. So like if I did it, I'd probably put like Majorca and Positano 1A, 1B. I'd put Capri at 2, and then I'd put Lake Como at 3 for me. See, but like I like Paris, but not as much as I like the other places.
I guess that's true.
Maybe like but then it could possibly go
above Venice and Sorrento. I think I would put it there for me.
Okay, so then I don't know if I would, personally. Like I don't know. And then I'd probably go.
Like would you go Lucerne and then Rome?
Lucerne and then Rome.
Rome again, it's like a must do. You must see it.
Because the Colosseum was cool.
Okay, so we'll probably go like speed round through these next questions because I feel like we talked about the details, but now we'll go like more in depth. How was the language barrier? This was one thing that last time I went to Italy in 2019. We specifically only did Italy. However, I feel like I was using a lot more Italian to just kind of like get through like the basic things. Obviously like ciao and grazie and like little words like that. This time, however, everywhere spoke English.
Yeah.
Like everywhere. Like we really did not run into any problems where we couldn't communicate with anyone.
At all.
So that is one thing that like Majorca, there was one restaurant, not even the restaurant, one waiter. But even still, like, I mean, obviously we live in Miami, so we're around Spanish a lot. So we could easily navigate a conversation. But this time around, like, truly everywhere spoke English. So I don't think that's anything that you need to worry about. Obviously, it's respectful to, like, try to speak the language. And
at least greet them properly. And then when you leave, just say thank you. And, it's really not hard.
How far in advance did you book everything? So our trip was in July. Well, we started off great. We booked our flights there. I feel like
we booked
decently early on. Let me check. I'll tell you the date.
We booked the main things, I guess.
No, just that.
Quite some time.
No, that was the only thing. So we booked our flight there in March for July, which I feel like was
like
decent.
4 months out.
It was still, we got a pretty good deal on that. Our flight there from Miami to Paris, I want to say was like $400 each. $400 each.
Because it was a one-way.
Yeah. We booked everything one way because we knew we were bouncing around. We booked that in March. Our next thing was, we should have probably, we didn't know, a lot of our itinerary was kind of like up in the air because we could do whatever. And we also were relying on other people for the second half of the trip. The one thing that I think kind of hurt us not booking in advance was our flight home. It was definitely more expensive. Our flight home ended up being like $700-800. So all in all, like, our main flights were definitely over $1,000, but I think if you plan ahead, you can get it
way cheaper.
Like, there were round trips that you could have found for like $400 or $500 total, but we did not do that. So we booked our first flight first. That was the first thing we did. Then I think next we went like hotels, Airbnbs, but even that we really didn't book that far in advance.
And surprisingly, everything was still available. And like there were many options too. We just wanted to, like, we knew that this was going to be like a once in a life trip, meaning like we were never going to get this time back. Like 3 weeks, over 3 weeks of vacation, like that's just like unheard of. And thankfully our jobs allow that. We had the time, you know, and this is something that we were really looking forward to doing. So we like did not try to save any money on places.
Yeah.
Like we went some cheaper routes. Like we could have of course spent more, but like we did stay in some really nice places. But yeah, we could have probably done things sooner, but you know, like we
didn't.
I honestly, I would have been okay with even just getting over there and just figuring everything out. But Gabby's not like that, so she just wanted to make sure things were planned. But to me, it's like there's gonna be another option. There's gonna be an option. So
and
it's
there's
just
stuff
like,
that you don't even like
know about.
Trains we booked like a day or two before. Like you don't need to do much in advance. I would say
the ferries maybe.
Flights. Even that, I feel like they don't necessarily sell out, but do those a little bit ahead of time.
Well, depending on if
get
you're
the time that you want.
Exactly. Bingo.
But flights definitely book in advance. As soon as you can, you're gonna get better deals. I use Google Flights for everything. I recommend doing this because you can like save the flight and you'll get reoccurring emails as the price goes up and down. You can navigate it. It'll tell you like if it's a good price or like when they think it'll drop it or it'll rise. Or if you're just like totally open and you want to do it on a budget, Google Flights allows you to see what is the cheapest option. Like it'll tell you where you can fly to within those dates and it'll give you the cheapest way to do it. You can break it down in that way, and I think that is another way you can save money is just have your itinerary be kind of like open and just do whatever's going to be cheapest. Next question, how did you know where to go, like restaurant shops, etc.? So I did a ton of research before, but we left a lot of things open, and I'm so glad we did because
when we got there, we looked it up on maps, literally just restaurants, or we went on TikTok and searched up restaurants in so and so, best places to eat in so and so.
So yeah, so when I say
explore.
When I say research, I mean TikTok and YouTube. I would just look up like what to eat, what to do, must-sees, must-dos in all those places. I would jot the things down that like I really wanted to do, but we left a lot of our itinerary open, and I'm so glad we did because we just came across some of the best restaurants that we experienced were like not planned. You can kind of like scope out the area and see like, oh, this place is really busy, it must be good, or just like walk around, see the menus of places. Can you talk more about how you got around each place, Uber, public transportation, and rentals? So starting with Paris, we taxied in and out of the airport because they have like their taxis are very like city mandated, so it's a specific price no matter where you're going, depending on what part of Paris you're going to.
And make sure you ask the driver though too, because you could be like, hey, it's this price, right?
Taxied in and out there. Everywhere else in Paris, we Ubered. Super easy, super cheap, honestly.
Yeah.
In Majorca, like I said, we had a rental car. I recommend doing that. I don't know if you can rent scooters, but that would be another place that I think scooters would be great because it'd be easy parking. It's just like easy to get around. Nothing is like too far, so I feel like that would have been good. if you can do that. But I definitely think you need some sort of transportation there because I don't know what the taxi Uber situation is like. I do know that they also have buses though there. I've seen that on TikTok as well.
Italy was just
walking,
private
drivers, trains, walking, ferries, scooter,
and then flights to and from places, of course.
And any of those options are super easy and great. Obviously, if you have the money to splurge, a private driver taking you everywhere was great.
And when we say that, it was like 120 euros.
Yeah, nothing crazy,
but
like compared to what a $30 train would have been.
I mean, of course, but it's just like the convenience of it.
Yeah.
So
trains we booked through. I mean, I think I literally just Googled like trains to and from. I ended up booking everything through the app. Omeo is what I use for trains, and then ferries. I did everything on Ferry Hopper, and especially the ferry, I was very stressed out about because I could not see. I did not have anything like to kind of go off of. I couldn't research anything. I didn't know how the luggage worked. Just know that you don't have to stress about anything, and it's the most easygoing situation ever. Let's get into the money questions, which I don't want to answer, but I want to for the sake of you guys. I just hate spending money.
Okay, there's no budgeting, if I'm being honest.
So next question, how did you budget or manage money overseas? This is something that we went into it saying, this is a once-in-a-lifetime trip. We don't want to stress about money. Like, we're going to do it exactly how we want to do it. And
so we did do this, though. So when we booked everything, we had that already paid off prior to even going on the trip, right? So X amount of dollars was spent on just the flights, the Airbnbs, some reservations, some...
One thing I recommend, as long as you're like good with your money, obviously, open a new travel credit card.
Yep.
One that has no international like foreign fees,
Mm-hmm.
and two, you're gonna be spending the money that you'll get those like automatic bonus points.
Yeah, so your sign-up bonus you'll get as well as points per purchase.
Yeah,
you know?
I
So
recommend doing that. At least the money that you are spending, you're kind of getting like benefits from.
Absolutely. That's exactly what she did, and it worked out perfectly because the sign-up bonus was X amount of points. You could convert that to cash and pay off some of the credit card bill, or you keep that for further travel, you know, which points convert to travel better than to just cash. So definitely keep that in mind, but we paid everything off even prior going. So then like whatever we spent over there was what we spent over there, and we kind of just like went back and forth. We, you know, split things.
We had, so you got out how many euros before? 800?
Yes.
800 cash or 800 euros?
800 euros. So no, I did 800 US dollars,
like
and then it was something. I think it was 677 euros, and then I took some more cash just in case I needed to convert it to whatever euros or francs.
I definitely recommend at least going over with
some.
Yeah, you definitely need some euros just for like little things for.
Sorry. So you definitely need euros, you know, for like the little things, because like a card isn't accepted everywhere, and cash, you know, is still king, especially when it comes to like the little vendors, and like when I bought my you could like bargain too.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely go over with some. You can always exchange over there. There's multiple places that you could do that, and then as well as, you know, make sure you get a credit card and put everything on there that has a no foreign transaction fee.
But pretty much everywhere over there, like restaurants, all that stuff, like pretty much everywhere takes card. There's just little things like the boat day we had to pay in cash.
Right.
Certain, if you're getting like something really small, sometimes they don't take card.
Yeah, it has to be over a certain euro amount.
So recommend having some euros when you go. It was easier just to exchange before we went, because I think they do sometimes like you get like extra fees if you exchange there. But with that, anything you splurge on that wasn't worth it. So I would say our two most expensive things, one you might not agree on with me, but like I don't think they were worth it. So one of the days in Mallorca, the first day, we went to the Sunset Lounge at like a really bougie hotel because I love a good sunset. And it like overlooked the water, and I thought it was going to be a gorgeous sunset view. Everything on the menu, so expensive. So expensive. We were just going to go for like drinks and apps, but even that, you got like a $22 drink, and it was like a sip.
I couldn't believe it. Like,
it was like literally like, I'll put a picture in it. It was way overpriced. Honestly, I don't recommend doing that. We didn't even have a good view of the sunset. You had a better view if you just walked in the hotel for free and went up to the balcony.
Yeah, so it was just like not worth it, and just like a waste of time.
Honestly.
And we just had so many other things that we wanted to do, and then like we thought that'd be a cool experience, and then it just turned out to not be, and yeah, that wasn't fun.
The other thing we splurged on was the Dior Cafe in Capri. It was something that I really wanted to do, so I'm glad we did it, because I feel like I would have regretted just like not exploring it. However, it was our most expensive meal, and I'm not gonna lie, I think it was my least favorite pasta dish of the entire trip.
Yeah, I did enjoy it. It was still great food, but in comparison to the other dishes that we've had, and didn't have to spend nowhere near as much money.
It just like wasn't worth it.
Yeah, and like
It really wasn't.
for sure.
How much did the entirety of the trip cost? Flights? Did you upgrade? Food, hotel, cars? So, like I said, no, we're very low maintenance flight people. Did not upgrade. Upgrading is so expensive. I don't even know how people do it. I feel like that the only time we'll ever upgrade in our life is when we use our points. Yeah.
Like we're giving the actual dollar amount as to like how much was spent on this trip.
I guess.
All in all, I probably spent personally like, I'd probably say like $7,500.
But again, so that was a little bit over the like what we expected the budget to be. But you're living for 3 weeks. We ate out every single meal.
We bought so many gifts.
Again,
I bought gifts for like family and friends, and you know, like we just didn't like want to not do anything because like, oh, it was gonna cost more money. Like you know, like you don't. I don't know. To me, like you take a trip, like you enjoy that trip, and that's exactly what we knew we were gonna be doing. So like, yeah, that dollar amount seems like a lot, but like to be away for 24 days in Europe, experiencing and going to as many places as we did, I don't think that's
every
even.
Penny. I would say we did this trip like moderately. I would say we were slightly above like the middle that we could have spent on the trip. And what I mean by that is there are definitely ways that you can save money. Like we did not pick like the cheapest Airbnb. We went everywhere. We did not pick like we like I said, we ate out every meal. We definitely could have saved money, like getting some groceries from a market and cooking at home or eating at home.
Markets are very cheap.
Very cheap.
Guys, I got a beer for $1.
But that's because we went in, like I said, with the mindset that this was a once-in-a-lifetime trip and we were not going to be worried about the money amount. There are ways you can save money, 100%. Is it going to be, you're still going to have to save and like have a decent budget for it? Yes, especially if you go for 3 weeks, obviously. But there are ways to make it cheaper. I wanted to be super transparent, though, about what we did. We definitely, splurged slightly on some of the Airbnbs. We went the nicer route there. Some of the, transportation, that's another way you can definitely save money. And again, just booking flights ahead of time would have saved us money as well. Can you give advice on traveling with or storing a lot of luggage? So, we each traveled with, I had a backpack, a checked bag, and a carry-on suitcase. He had a backpack, a checked suitcase, and a duffel bag. We had lots of luggage. The only time we struggled with it was Sorrento and Positano, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But in those cities where it was an issue, they have luggage storage that you can find, like luggage lockers where you just pay for. We actually did this in Majorca one day. You just pay for a locker. It is super secure, locked all of our stuff in. Or you can pay, like I said, the Positano luggage company. They literally picked up our luggage, stored it for the day. So there are ways to get around it so that you don't have to struggle. I feel like everyone makes it seem like such a nightmare, and it's really not that hard, I promise. We brought a lot of luggage, and we only really struggled with it twice, and even that, it was not a deal breaker.
And please make sure you put an air tag in every single piece of luggage. Like, it's a necessity to make sure, like, you know where your belongings are at all times, especially if you're going to use these lockers, and you just never know what can happen to your luggage.
Just to be safe,
Air tags are a must. Water shoes, air tags, some euros.
Next question, Airbnbs, hotels. I'll have all of our Airbnbs that we stayed at linked down below. We only stayed at one hotel in Paris. This, though, I think if you do, correct, yeah. But because of Airbnbs, we did run into a few issues, like I said, that we had to check out early and we couldn't check in until later. If you stay at hotels, you also don't have to worry about luggage because you can store it at the hotel.
Yep.
So I definitely think if we went back, we would probably look into staying at more hotels than Airbnbs.
For sure, because it'd probably be the same price.
Airbnbs, you have that homey feel of kind of being a local. So we really wanted that. I liked it, but I do think hotels definitely have some perks. And that was the last question. We have been yapping for a long time, but there was just so much to cover. And
there's still so much to talk about, but if we did, we'd probably be here for 4 hours.
So all in all, biggest takeaways. If you even have the slightest bit of an itch to do this, it was amazing. I would do it again in a heartbeat. Obviously, we can't because we won't have it was a once in a lifetime trip, probably, to do it the way we did it this time. 2, it is pricey, especially doing it the way we did it. There are ways to do it cheaper, but as money comes and goes, this experience we will never get back, and it is something that I will remember for the rest of my life. And 3, if you have any more questions, just leave them down below, and I can answer them with typing them so that I don't sit here all day. But we had the best time. We still talk about it pretty much daily.
I reminisce more often than I probably even should.
Yeah.
But because it truly was the most amazing trip that we've ever taken. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as we enjoyed our trip.
I did vlog the entire trip. If you're new, just coming to this video for these questions getting answered, I vlogged every detail of the entire trip. So if you want to see everything, we went into details. I put every location of every restaurant we ate at, every beach we went to, go watch the whole like European series for all the more in-depth details. But I hope we answered your questions, and if you're still here somehow, thanks for watching this video.
We appreciate it.
But with that being said, we love you guys. I hope this helped you out a little bit. If you are watching this before you go, I hope you have the time of your life. It is going to be amazing, and I'm jealous that you get to experience it.
Enjoy every moment, for sure.
But I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.